Welcome back to Sunday Vibes, one and all. No Christopher Hamill this week. He's taking a little break, I think from social media altogether, judging by his tweets yesterday. Pato and Zach joining me though. Pato, how are you, mate?
All right, man. All right, how are things?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Bit of a busy week, to be fair. Been on the EPL, so it's been quite long days, live for 6 hours, so I don't really get a break. But nevertheless, it's a lot of fun to be out the house. Zach, how have you been?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. I was going to say, don't act like you don't love it.
Yeah, just to be out of the house is an absolute treat. To be back in the studio is fantastic, but hopefully it will be coming soon to Football Daily as well. Right, let's just crack straight on. Let's not mess about today because the question was sent in by No Judge Tweeting, and he said England's best 11 for the Euros. So today we're going to pick what we think should start, right, for England's first game. I think that's very important. It's going to be against Croatia on the 13th of June at 2 p.m. And I think that's important because at least we have a barometer of the quality of the opposition. Let's start by picking a formation. Zach, formation us.
Ooh. I mean, because it's my team, I will go 4-3-3 personally.
Okay.
But I just know Gareth isn't going to do that. It's going to be 3 at the back or 5 at the back, or that is what we'll end up playing. I think, to be fair, it's kind of a shame that we're shooting this just before England play today, because I think that'll be quite a big sign as to what formation he wants to play.
Mate, I'd put my house on the fact he plays 5 at the back today or 3
well,
at the
also,
back.
how many?
Take 11 defenders.
Yeah, exactly. He selected 11 defenders, which is kind of ridiculous, if we're being quite honest. But yeah, no, personally, I'm going to go 4-3-3. Pretty simple 4-3-3. No, nothing too special about it.
Wow.
Maybe the left side of it being slightly forward ahead of the other two. But yeah, that's my formation.
So I was thinking more 4-2-3-1, Pat.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, if you think about the weak areas of England's squad, right? It's centre-backs and central midfielders.
Yeah.
So you want to minimise the number of those on the pitch. The attack is amazing. Get as many attackers as you can on as possible without weakening the side. And it seems to me the best way to do that is 4-2-3-1.
Yeah, I agree. Is one of your attacking mids or one of your midfield three Jack Grealish, Zach? Is that what you're thinking? Are you including him within that midfield three?
Phil Foden.
Okay, so basically you're playing a 4-2-3-1 anyway. We're just laying it out.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
So let's call it a 4-2-3-1. So we've got a clear attacking midfielder, like a general number 10 in this team.
Okay.
But let's start with the goalkeeper then. Pat, who'd you go for?
Probably Henderson. I think.
What? Really?
Yeah. I just think
Okay.
he's the best keeper. Like, he's the best keeper. Like, and I like Pope, but like, this is a side that needs to play like a big side. It's a side that needs to play in the way that a top side in the Premier League would play. And that means having a keeper who could play out from the back. Now, Jordan Pickford obviously can't do that. He can't kick or catch or see or tackle or do anything sensible.
But he has been reliable for England. For England.
Yeah, but I think that's such a weird idea. It's like to me, that's just a coincidence. It's like a small sample size. like, are we really believing that being a keeper for England is totally different to being a keeper from Everton? Look at it this way: if you were going into a huge matchup, who's more likely to make an error that costs you the game, Pickford or Henderson?
I mean, recently, Hendo's not looked too great.
Yeah, but it's okay. Well, certainly. Okay, Pickford or Pope. Certainly Pickford then, right?
Hendo's had 11 clean sheets in 19 games. He's Manchester United goalkeeper this season, Zach. So I think you need to put a bit of respect on his name.
Istanbul Başakşehir.
What do you
What a
want?
mess that was.
I can't even remember that
It was
goal.
a couple of-
Wasn't that,
a
that
couple-
was,
couple
wasn't
of
that when they just ran through from the halfway line, Denver Bar?
Yeah, I also remember him. He's had a few mares, but I don't know. Hendo's a weird choice.
I would also go
I
with
was thinking
Pope.
it was between Nick Pope or Pickford, because I actually believe.
Well, then it's Pope. Then it's Pope. You just can't. You can't have Pickford. You just can't do it.
See, I honestly think I do believe the whole thing for England. He's been fine. If
Zach,
anything,
we
it's
can't
been
go
probably his
Pickford in
best
goal.
performances.
You can't
He's
go
so
Pickford in
unreliable.
sticks, man.
He's so unreliable, man.
No. It's for me. It's between Pope or Pickford. So if you guys are going Pope, I'll happily go with Pope.
I understand Pat's reservations.
It will be Pickford.
I do understand Pope's reservations. I do think he's got a problem with his feet, and England are going to try and play out from the back, especially if they play a back three. They aren't going to be lumping balls up towards Harry Kane. So look, I think Nick Pope is the best shot stopper and the most dominant from set pieces, but that does worry me, his feet. But I think Nick Pope. I think I would go Nick Pope just based on this season. I'm happy to.
And set pieces are quite a big thing as well in international football. It's a lot of, especially when you saw England do it in the World Cup. So having a guy that can kind of dominate his box is probably a good thing.
And keepers are much of a muchness, man. Like I genuinely think that like 90% of keepers are just like pretty much interchangeable, and then there's a few guys at the top end and a few guys at the bottom end. Yeah. So if you've got a guy who's just like solid in the middle, then you can't go that far wrong.
Yeah. Okay. So we go Nick Pope in sticks, right back. Not in the squad this time. Dropped because of performance-related issues, which I think is a madness. Don't think he's been nearly as bad
really funny.
As Gareth Southgate thinks he has. And, in fact, has probably been one of the better players for Liverpool, especially since the turn of the year.
So worried.
I would still start Trent. I don't know about you two.
Yeah. I'm the same boat. Like, I can also see a world where Reece James starts. I wouldn't be too surprised if I saw that name on the team sheet. But yeah, I mean, it's actually quite a worrying factor, the fact that he hasn't even decided to take Trent because he thinks his performances have been that bad, and instead has called up a Kieran Trippier, who has been banned for the past couple of months. And against, I mean, I'm going to only say the one game I've watched him against Chelsea, looked very average, if not worse than. He could put a decent ball into the box, but compared to Trent, he's got nothing on him.
Mate, I'm worried about Trent under Southgate. I really am worried about Trent under Southgate. I think I saw a stat the other day. He's only got 12 caps under Southgate, and Gary Cahill has got 13 under Southgate, and he stopped playing in 2018.
Hey, put some respect from Gary Cahill's name.
He stopped playing in 2018, mate, 3 years ago, and he's still got more caps than Trent. I'm slightly concerned, especially if he plays that wing-back situation, that Trent might not play an awful lot. But in R4, for me, has to start, Pat.
Yeah, I think so. Like if you're playing a back three, then I think you want more of a conventional you want an athletic guy who can just dominate the flank, and I think Reece James is going to be better at that. But in that back four, when he'll be able to kind of step into midfield a little bit and spray pass around, it's obviously got to be Trent. I mean, the fact that Southgate, does Southgate need to be helped across the road at this point? What is wrong with the man? I don't know. The fact that he was just oh no, Trent, well, I'm dropping him for performance issues, and then he picks Trippier, who has just been sitting on his arse because he can't stop breaking the rules.
God.
I don't understand it. It's especially because Trent is still excellent, and actually his performances have picked up a bit lately. It's I don't understand it at all. To me, the guys you consider here are Trent and Reece James and maybe Kyle Walker, but we all know Kyle Walker's going to play centre-back, right?
Yeah, definitely. On that right-hand side, almost definitely. But he has been used there quite effectively in the past, to be honest with you, and I think it would potentially help cover for the likes of Maguire's pace deficiencies. So I'm not totally averse to that. But let's go with Trent as our right-back then. So we've got Nick Pope and Trent so far. If you're watching at home, let us know your England 11 in the comments below, and whether you agree or disagree with our picks. Centre-back pairing then. I think this is actually probably simple for me. Harry Maguire and John Stones. I just don't see anywhere else to turn.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement. Again, if he's playing a three-back, you would assume maybe Cody goes in there as well. But yeah, John Stones, especially this season, he's just been kind of rejuvenated and looks fantastic. And those, those were part of the two, or I think, and Kyle Walker. It was Stones and Maguire, right, during that three-back during the World Cup, and defensively we weren't that bad. So I don't see anything too wrong with it. Let's just hope Maguire doesn't have any of his mares during the England squad.
Yeah, well, I think obviously Maguire did start a lot of games, but I think we took Phil Jones as well, didn't we, in 2018? So the squad has changed pretty dramatically. I remember Phil Jones starting against Belgium, that's for sure. But yeah, I just don't think any of the other centre-backs have quite breached that level. Michael Keane's had a pretty solid season. Really surprised that Ezri Konsa hasn't gone on this squad. I just don't understand why you take Eric Dyer and not Ezri Konsa at all, to be honest with you. But I do believe that if we play a back three, you might see Kyle Walker as the third centre-back in there, Pat. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that'll probably be the case. I'm fine with Maguire Stones. I think it's okay. My bigger question would be who you take as the next guys, because I'd be much more inclined to take guys like Konsa and Tomori than I would be to take guys like Dyer or Keane. I think they suit the way that you want this side to develop more, and they're more athletic and just a bit classier on the ball as well. Like I think those things are going to be super important. But I mean, I can't stress this enough. I don't want England to win this tournament. But it does annoy me that some of these young players just get overlooked in favour of guys who it's like, oh well, we know him. He's been around for years.
But that's Gareth's system, right? Gareth seems to be picking half of his players based on loyalty and what he knows. Like, as we've already mentioned a few of them, Dyer and Trippier, like they're only in there because Gareth has some sort of like loyalty and trust with them, where he's used them before and knows during that period they did an okay job. And so it makes no sense. Like, you want to see a manager kind of... It's like the Grealish situation. Like, it's understandable that when he said about Jack Grealish and that he wasn't performing to the level of some of the wingers in that squad, sure, but he was also one of the best players in the Premier League. So take him. Just take him anyway. And it's such a weird kind of... Like, he's sort of sticking to traditions. And I really hope when it comes to the actual Euro squad, he doesn't use the same mentality.
Yeah, I do agree to a level. I think there are massive risks in taking really too many of these young players to the Euros, though. Like, I don't think you can take Ezri Konsa and Tomori to the Euros. I just think it's not going to happen, to be honest with you. Like, as good as Ezri Konsa has been, he's definitely a developing centre-back. I would probably say Michael Keane has had a better season than Ezri Konsa. And I just think that Michael Keane deserves to go, to be honest with you. I think he's been pretty outstanding for Everton. As for Tomori, potentially, but I can't.
He's only just started playing football again, to be honest.
Yeah, and I also just can't see Gareth Southgate picking defenders out of Italy. Like, if he believed that was the case, that he was going to go and pick defenders out of Italy, we would have seen Chris Smalling in and around the squad last season more. So, yeah, I think for me it'll be Michael Keane. But I think if we're just doing our 11 today, Harry Maguire, John Stones is our centre-back pairing. Pretty
sure.
comfortable. Let's move to left-back then. And if anybody says anything other than Luke Shaw, I'm going to have a meltdown.
Yeah?
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's more than fine, mate. He's been fantastic this season. He's really, genuinely going to be a key player for England at this World Cup, I believe it.
He's been good in attack. He's still a pretty bad defender. That's a problem. Like, I mean, it's not a problem just by itself. It's totally okay. It's same as Trent. But I think it will have knock-on effects when we come into the midfield. I mean, the one thing he's helped by here is the fact that Ben Chilwell is also not actually that great defensively, and hasn't played as much as you'd like him to. So it's kind of an easy decision to put Shaw in. But as I've said, I think if you play three at the back, you're much better off playing someone like Saka.
Yeah, the beauty of having Luke Shaw, though, is he can operate as a left centre-back. He did that at times for United.
Not very well,
season.
though.
Mate, he was actually not too bad. He wasn't too bad, I'm not even going to lie. He does get let down a little bit positionally, but I just think what he offers you in terms of, not talking about as a centre-back now, talking about him as a left-back, that his progressive runs are so good for United.
Yes, yeah, that is true.
100% his best asset of overlapping runs, and when he picks the ball up, he is just a little powerhouse, so hard to stop running inside. And whether or not it's Rashford playing out there, or Grealish, or Sancho, or Sterling, they are going to get so much more space with Luke Shaw in the team, powering forward. So I think he deserves to start. Whether or not he will, because like you said, it might be a wing-back situation. Would you have Saka as your wing-back if we go to a back three and we end up playing a wing-back?
Probably, because I think that when he plays the back three, creativity is a real issue. And Shaw is a creative runner, and he's had some... His attacking passing's been better this season. But I think in that situation, you've just got to load as much creativity into the players who are not out-and-out attackers as possible. Because when England have played that back three, they've really struggled to create. But, it's an option to have. Like, I mean, I think you take Saka either way and you take Shaw either way. So, it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
I think I'm pretty happy with that as a back four. You happy with that, Jalab?
Yeah, I've got no concerns there. Shaw's probably the starting one based on this season. Touch wood, no injuries. Touch wood.
All right, then. Let's move into midfield. And our two pivots against... The very key here, I think, is against Croatia. If this was against San Marino or some utter nonsense side, I would be saying slightly more progressive ideas than I'm about to come out with, but I do think Declan Rice should start for England.
Yeah, of course he should. Definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
Nailed on.
Guaranteed DM here.
He's not in my starting, if I'm being honest.
Against Croatia.
Even in a 4-2-3-1, Zach.
Yeah, because this clown will have gone for Mount and Hendo as his DM
Exactly.
against Croatia.
But because I'm thinking more 4-3-3, and so it's Hendo in the middle.
But we agreed on
Hendo in the
4-2-3-1, Zach.
Yeah, we did, mate.
I understand that you want Mount in there, but Mount is a problem for me when we're getting into a
Wait,
4-2-3-1,
you're not going to play Mount? We'll
see when we get into the attacking band. But I'm not going to play him in a midfield 2. That's for sure, unless we're lining this up against we're managing this side against like Gibraltar or something.
Yeah, I think Declan Rice and Hendo is the way to go as my double pivot.
And to be clear, when I say we're managing, like we're picking, right? We are picking like just what we want. We're not trying to think, okay, what would Southgate actually do?
Yeah, what we would want.
Yeah,
but it has to also
Okay,
it has to also work. I think like we can't just have Maddison and Mount as the defensive midfielders. Like I think Declan Rice and Hendo is very solid defensively. Henderson's passing is quite key to England as well, his ability to switch the play, I think. And, he's worked alongside defensive midfielders like Fabinho at Liverpool. I don't see why he can't do it for England. I think that's easily our best double pivot.
I have an alternative. Like I do think that these players, I think you start Rice, definitely. I actually think he's your first choice midfielder in a midfield 2. And then the other one I think should be either Henderson or Bellingham.
Okay, Bellingham's an interesting shout. I'm willing to hear your argument for Bellingham.
He's a good defender for one. I think he's on about 4 tackles and interceptions a game this season. Loads and loads of pressures as well. Really good dribbler, which basically none of these other midfielders are. Like he's completing around 2 dribbles a game. And passing wise, like he's a really good progressive passer. Like he can do all that stuff. To me, like who do you play over him? The only guy is Henderson. Unless
he chooses to go Mount deeper. He might play Mount deeper.
Maybe, but you certainly don't play Phillips or Winks. You don't play Ward-Prowse unless you're mental. Like none of those guys like have a shot over Bellingham, in my opinion. So I think that you definitely pick Henderson or Bellingham basically on who's in better shape going into it. Because I know that Henderson has carried a couple of injuries, has played out of position a lot. And that's why I think you might want to consider Bellingham. Bellingham's played at a really high level in a side that, despite their travails, have actually overall been pretty good this season, and he's been pretty good for them.
I hear what you're saying. And I know that you're not into the whole like leaders on the pitch, bit of experience on the pitch, quite as much as maybe I am. But I do think Jordan Henderson, his experience helps England a little bit, especially when Declan Rice is very young himself. I think,
but that's quite an experienced back line, though, right? You've got like Maguire, like Shaw and Maguire and Stones and Trent. Right. They're all pretty experienced guys.
You're right, but I would be too nervous about going for Declan Rice and Bellingham against Croatia. I would personally go Hendo and Rice. Zach, I guess you got the casting vote here.
I just think if I agree with this, it's fucked up the rest of my forward line.
Well, what's your idea? What's your idea to have Mount in there?
It's gonna be Mount, and then like trying to persuade Billy Gilmore to switch as a legion.
What's your midfield? I don't understand.
Yeah, so my 3 midfield would have been Henderson, Mount, and Phil Foden.
Bloody hell!
Against Croatia.
Okay, well, when we first came up with this, against karate, against the Mexicans. But when we first came up with this, there was no against Croatia. This was my ideal one.
Okay.
Maybe when we're looking at against Croatia, then sure, I would probably go maybe a Henderson and Declan Rice pivot. But I also do see watching Bellingham play for Borussia Dortmund is great fun.
I do.
Like, watching him against Sevilla he is a very talented player. But I think I kind of agree with Joe on the experience of Henderson in this and having him in that midfield, especially considering what happened in the semi-finals of the World Cup.
I think it's also worth mentioning that I think Bellingham would have more impact off the bench than Jordan Henderson if you were a goal behind and you needed to put another midfielder in there to be slightly more progressive. Like if it wasn't going well with Bellingham, bringing on Henderson just feels like a negative change, whereas bringing on Bellingham feels like, okay, maybe we're going a little bit more progressive here.
Yeah. Though Henderson can also function the other way, right? So like you go a goal up, you bring on Henderson, and you just keep the ball and like calm things down.
What I find so interesting about these conversations is like nobody will be able to fully agree. Meaning, good luck to Gareth Southgate. Good luck to Gareth Southgate out there when he's got to try and pick an 11 that the whole world.
Okay, so let's say just for now, as Zach's gone with it as well, we'll go Jordan Henderson and Rice as double with it. It is a bit negative. I can see people commenting at home already. You've got so many talented players. Why are you going for those two? But we're focusing on that Croatia game. Who's the attacking mid in here? Who's in that 10 slot?
Mason Mount. I'm sorry, lads. It has to be. I know people may go Chelsea bias, all that stuff. Sure thing, say what you want, but the guy is ridiculous. And he's also been very good for England, even when he's been put out at right wing, which isn't the position he should be playing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Mason Mount is my turn.
But then if you were to suggest, so like Grealish there, like Grealish is in my squad, but if you were to suggest like Grealish at 10 or like Phil Foden at 10, I can also see that argument. I think it'd be such a shame if Phil Foden isn't starting for England. I think he's just so good. To have someone like him on the bench, sure, is a brilliant option to bring on, but that kind of quality you need to be starting. I can also see that. If
Pep says that he's not ready to play as a 10 and he doesn't have the understanding of that position, and he can't do it for City, who are the best team in the world, even though I think he can, how is he going to do it under Southgate in this England side? Like, I think Phil Foden has to play in one of the wide slots, and I think Jack Grealish has to play in one of the wide slots as well.
He doesn't get in the wide slots. That's the issue.
Okay.
Well, let's understand. But look, Mason Mount is my 10. Mason Mount is my 10.
Same. What about you?
Just the work rate as well is ridiculous.
My question here was whether I went for. I basically need to talk about this as a 3. I can't really talk about it as a 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go on.
My question was whether I went Grealish, Sterling, Sancho, like not in that order, obviously. Like it would probably go Sterling, Grealish, Sancho, or whether I went Grealish, Mount, Sterling. So the question is whether Sancho like deserves to keep this place over Mount.
Yeah.
I think that probably Mount is a better fit, thinking about it now, just because I think if Grealish is playing, the guy you want on the ball all the time is Grealish.
Yeah.
And Mount is quite good in that like he's kind of like Emile Smith-Rowe in the style of attacking midfielder he is, as in he doesn't need to be on the ball 100% of the time. He's also happy to make like runs into the box and pull out wide and stuff. And I think that probably works quite well with Grealish. Whereas with Sancho there, maybe Sancho and Grealish just both want to be on the ball all the time, and it's just gonna not really work. So yeah. Plus I worry a bit about like this team defensively. You do need a guy in there who can lead the press, and like Kane, with the best will in the world, isn't going to do it, and certainly Grealish isn't either. So having Mount there and having Sterling, like having that work rate in the front line, probably helps you out a bit.
Yeah, all right, so we're definitely going Mount. Bit of debate about Sterling, maybe. Our 2 wide men here? Because I feel like we've all got very different answers here as to who our wide men are going to be.
My wide men is Grealish left and Sterling right. I think you have to have Sterling.
I agree with
that.
Sterling's
he's shown his level as well. Not in the past few seasons since the World Cup too. He's continued to improve, and I think it's because otherwise it's Sancho realistically, and I kind of agree with Pat that the fact that Grealish is the guy that's going to be on the ball more so you're kind of wasting him out there, and also what an option it would be to bring on someone like Sancho, again someone like Phil Foden. I guess you're going to say, are you going to suggest Phil Foden instead of Sterling?
No, I'll totally agree with you guys, to be honest with you. I think Grealish and Sterling as the 2 wide men against Croatia. I think when you're playing teams that are a higher calibre than Croatia, I would think about starting Marcus Rashford, just because I think he gives you something that none of the current forwards we've talked about offer, which is those like just mad acceleration and pace on the counter attack. That is just blockbuster speed in the 1v1. And I don't even think Sterling quite wants to operate in the same way as Marcus Rashford, who just wants to play into space. I think Sterling's perfectly happy to receive the ball in these sort of tight areas and pick teams apart, like Man City do. So yeah, I'm perfectly happy with Grealish and Sterling. And then I think Rashford, Sancho and Foden coming off the bench.
It's not bad.
is just unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. And then obviously Harry Kane up top, right? There's nowhere else to go, really, is there? I mean,
yeah, for sure. Let's just hope he's fit, though. Like, that is my one concern so much at the moment. That, like, because especially the way Tottenham are playing. Whenever Tottenham are not playing well, that's when Harry Kane also decides to try and go and work extra hard for his team and end up, which is fair enough.
It's a good thing.
But ends up, no, it is. But that's when you're concerned over his injury issues, because at the start of the season he looked like he had his explosiveness back and everything. Whereas I'm kind of watching him now and I don't necessarily see that as much. But yeah, if he's fit, oh my god, that front line is ridiculous.
It is. So our team on paper then, if we're all in agreement, is Pope, Trent, Stones, Maguire, Shaw, Dyer, Henderson, Mount.
Dyer?
No, not Dyer. Dyer. Declan Rice, Henderson, Mount, Grealish, Sterling, Kane. Pretty solid, that, with the likes of Foden and Rashford and Sancho and Bellingham to come off the bench and Reece James to come off the bench potentially.
Saka too, you seem to be on the bench.
Yeah, Bukayo Saka.
There are guys who aren't even going to go, like Maddison and Dele Alli. Like Dele Alli not going to the Euros is like ridiculous.
Has had a rotten season though, isn't he? Like,
yeah, but I mean the talent of the guy.
Yeah, unreal. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you who I think could have a big impact for England at the Euros as well. Is I think Calvert-Lewin off the bench could be genuinely dangerous for England, especially when we're chasing goals. If we end up going with him and Kane up top and Kane starts to drop a bit deeper, I think we'll cause a lot of teams a lot of problems. All right, so that was our 11. Let us know your 11 in the comments below. Let's do some quick fire questions. This one from Vasi. He says, if they ended their careers today, how would you rank these players? Ibra, Aguero, Lewandowski, Suarez, Benzema. Okay, so let's just do who would be the best out of them lot. I can't be asked ranking them, but who would be the best?
Lewandowski. The guys. I mean, Suarez is probably up there as well. To
Benzema.
Benzema. Yeah, I mean, Ibra's low. Ibra's low. Very low. I'd probably go Lewandowski. I know he's not maybe as flashy as some of the others, but I think as a goal scorer, I don't know if there's much better out of them.
I think he's the best goal scorer, but I think if you were looking at who's had the best career, I think it's hard to look past Benzema. I really do. Like, I think just the triple stack of Champions Leagues just probably edges him over for me.
Aguero's probably bottom here. Aguero, Ibrahimovic.
Yeah,
I'd put Ibra bottom and Aguero above him.
I'd possibly go Suarez. Like I agree that if you're doing it on like the success like trophies, then you've got to go Benzema. But Suarez, but it doesn't actually say that's how we're ranking it necessarily. It's just if they ended their careers today. Like, and I think of all these players, Suarez hit the highest level of any of them.
Yeah, and, single season definitely. I agree.
Yeah, and that treble-winning season was like just out of this world. And that season, God, his last season at Liverpool, like one of the 2 or 3 best individual seasons in Premier League history, maybe the best.
Yeah. Okay, so based on team, probably based on honours, Benzema, based on single season, Suarez, and based on goal scoring, Lewandowski is what we're saying in answer to that question. Vasi, Pilko says, do you think the Belgian national team will ever fulfil their potential?
I mean, I think that's quite a hard question, because the only way you say they would fulfil their potential is if they win something. And they're up against some hard countries in Germany and France and I guess the Spain squad before that. And sure, they're a fantastic squad, but I mean, basically they've got to get to a final and win something for them to have fulfilled it. Is that what he's kind of suggesting?
Well, I imagine he suggested, and I think probably rightly so, in the same way that England's golden generation get panned, obviously flopping at major tournaments. If Belgium don't at least make a final with this side, I think they will have failed.
Yeah, but I mean, with England's golden generation, like they basically had a world-class or extremely good player in every position. Whereas with this Belgian side, there are still massive holes in it. Like, I mean, the fact is that their defenders like peaked and
fullbacks,
and then fell off like faster than their attackers peaked. So like Lukaku right now is in the best form of his life, but what is their defensive line? Like that's troubling, and they probably won't fulfill their potential if they hire managers like Roberto Martinez. Like, he's a nice guy, he's an okay manager, but like he doesn't overcome your defensive deficiencies. What they should do here is go and like hire like Max Allegri or something, and be like, you know what, You're not that great at coaching and attack. Don't worry. We've got incredible attackers. What we need you to do is give us a solid defence. And that would probably work for them. Like, imagine if they had, like, Conte managing them or something. Like, it'd be out of this world. So, I don't know. They need to get smart, possibly. Or they need to just produce a left and right back overnight.
Yeah, that is...
They've got... And they've got two more tournaments, realistically. They've got the Euros this summer, and then they've got the World Cup the year after in I guess, the winter time in the UK. So they've still got time, I guess, to fulfil their potential.
Yeah. All right. Let's do this one then before we move on to personals from Max Morris. He says, what do you think is a success failure for England at this Euros this summer?
Semi-finals is I guess the kind of aim, right? If we got there in the 2018 squad and you compare the 2018 squad to the 2021 squad, you've got to say the 2021 squad is better. And so obviously if that squad got to the semis, sure, it was maybe through an easier run per se, but that is the minimum requirement.
Get into the semis.
It's been improved. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Pat?
I think like quarters is par, semis is probably a minor success. Anything less than the quarters is a failure, and even going out in the quarters is potentially a failure depending on who you do it to.
Oh yeah, totally agree. Especially as the semi-final and finals at Wembley. I think if you go out pre the quarters, it's a bit of a shambles. To be totally honest with you, that quarter final, even if it's against strong opposition, like England should be seriously confident about getting to Wembley. That should be.
Well, how many teams at the Euros do you see maybe like as better than England?
France,
three, maybe.
Maybe Portugal. Like, who else though? But there are other strong sides. Yeah. Like, I mean, you don't necessarily see them as like flat out better. But like, if England lost to Germany or Spain, like, or even Italy, like, you wouldn't be like, my God, I can't believe this happened. Like, that would be kind of like reasonable, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Is there any team that's sort of the big nations that you think if England lost to, you'd be like, that's really poor at the moment because they're just in a slump?
I do think England should aspire to beat Spain and Italy. Yeah, though Spain have really picked up, man. Have really picked up. Yeah,
they have. Under Luis Enrique, they've been especially like they've got this new kind of young generation coming through as well. That's really good to watch. The Netherlands. I think if England lost to the Netherlands, I know we lost to them in the UEFA Nations League. But I watched the Netherlands play yesterday, and they didn't look too great. Sorry, Pat. But I think Netherlands, in terms of like big nations with big history, I guess they'd be one of the ones I'd be annoyed if we went out to, for sure.
Yeah,
I think honestly, the only nation against which England would be like definite underdogs probably is France, and then Portugal is debatable.
Yeah, that Portugal team I saw the other night looked unreal on paper, to be fair. What Portugal I think do have is like slightly more like peak superstars. Like I feel like England have a lot of superstars waiting to be, whereas like Portugal seems to be packed full of players that are like peak or maybe even past their peak a little bit more. But let's finish with a personal question then. Actually, I'll go for one that I saw on Twitter myself, and it was best and worst UK fast food chain.
Best and worst. Worst.
We're looking at
I'm not a fan of KFC. I'll be honest.
So you put that as your worst fast food chain. It's the worst
in
shout
terms of what
I've heard
I've had.
today.
Like I don't think I've ever had I don't think I've ever had a Burger King.
It's totally fine.
Maybe I assume that'll be.
But how can you have KFC as the worst? It's like one of the more passable ones, I think. KFC.
I don't think it's that great, man.
Can we have a whip through some of the candidates? Just because I feel like I'm missing a lot of guys.
So does a Nando's count as a fast food restaurant?
I'll count it. So I'm looking here.
What about
sort of Burger King, McDonald's, Domino's, Pizza Hut, Nando's, Papa John's, KFC.
What about
Subway.
DF Tacos?
No.
Okay. Well, Pizza Hut is bottom. Pizza Hut is the worst.
I think it is as well. I think it's sickening.
Yes.
Sickening.
My attitude has always been that even bad pizza is still pretty good.
Yeah.
Like it's like pizza is cheese on bread. How can it not be good? But Pizza Hut, I genuinely don't enjoy, and I'm greedy pig. Like, so I don't understand. It's just not good. It doesn't make you feel nice. I'm not into it.
It's so doughy. I totally agree.
Joe also wants no floppage on his pizza.
I can't have floppage on the pizza at all.
Completely agree about that as well.
I want some rigidity on my pizza. I don't want to see flopped over with cheese and tomato sauce spilling off just to leave a bit of plain dough. It's like, it's not how pizza should be made, and I'll be honest with you, it sickens me. Like, the amount of times I've come out of Pizza Hut feeling worse than when I went into Pizza Hut is phenomenal.
TGI Fridays can get down there as well, if that's fast food.
I've never been to
it's
one,
not
but
fast food. That's a restaurant, bro.
The queue outside TGI Fridays at the O2. That queue when you're trying to get into the cinema, and they're just all these fucking mole people like queuing outside TGI Fridays so they can like have a death by chocolate or whatever. Those people, I hate that place. Zach, you're totally right. It's a dump.
That's not fast food though. TGI Fridays. I don't even think you can do takeaways.
Yeah, I know, but I just it came up, so I just thought I'd go in on that.
All right.
Fair play. Okay.
I tell you another one I think is pretty mud. I think Subway is seriously mud. Like,
I'm not a big Subway fan.
I like Subway.
I think the bread is crap. The meat is just packet meat.
That's floppage central that as well.
And the sauce is just like blatantly out of some horrendous microwave bag. I just think that Subway's mud for me, but it's not as bad as Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut is shocking.
I enjoy Subway, but I also completely agree with every bad thing you've just said about it. Like, it's just, again, it's one of those things, like it's the same way, like, I love pork scratchings, but sometimes as I'm eating them, I'm like, this is disgusting.
Yeah, totally. All right,
what am I doing?
What's the best then? If we put Pizza Hut in the mud, what's the best?
I don't think anyone can suggest me. Like, McDonald's never...
You know what? Nuggets have really picked up lately. They're crisp they're super crisp.
But we can't put it up there as the top. Like, if you went 5th, 6th McDonald's, I'd be like, okay, cool.
I do like McDonald's though. It's
but
reliable.
that's why I would put KFC amongst my top brackets.
Yeah, KFC's high.
I
like Five Guys.
Oh, Five Guys, for sure. If we're counting Five Guys, then Five Guys is coming out at 1 for me. I think that's probably my favourite burger in London, even though
I love a Five Guys.
I love
Five Guys is good. Five Guys is good. I honestly, it is fast food because you can take it away. DF tacos are brilliant. If you ever had one of them,
what is that?
They're quality. It's basically like a fast food taco place.
Are they good though? I feel like they're never good.
No, mate, they're definitely not. If it's Zach saying they're good, they're definitely not good.
This is, I'm sorry, but this is like when we used to go and get like a burrito together from Oaxaca, like, which is not good. And then everyone would get the steak, which has just been sitting there all day.
The steak
getting
is
rubbery.
good. The steak from Oaxaca, the steak from Tortilla was good.
No, it wasn't.
You have to get it in a bowl from me. I don't like
the worst
burritos,
meat.
so I have to get
It's
in a
the
bowl.
worst meat that they do.
Steak. Oh, them. Yeah, no, the chicken. I always go chicken with them for sure.
Pork is always the best meat in a Mexican situation. Like, the only reason not to get the pork is like for dietary reasons.
So are we all? Should we go Five Guys then? I think Five Guys is quite.
I can agree to Five Guys.
I can as well.
I'd say Nando's probably second. Like, I think Nando's is it's reliable, man.
Mate, I'll tell you what.
It's not reliable.
Let's Nando's down. Is its sides are poor. Like, its chips are poor. Its garlic bread's average.
And it's expensive. It's also expensive, and also when you say it's reliable, it's not.
I mean,
like,
Five Guys is expensive.
Sometimes what you get on top of a Nando's, you get just like flaccid, like uncrisp chicken skin. It's not that great, and I'm sorry, but like the peri salted chips are disgusting.
All over the place. I agree with that. Man.
They're just not good.
They're also just oven chips as well. I hate that. I hate that you go there. And you get
such a risk getting thighs at Nando's. You can either get hot, crispy, they come out and they are fantastic, or they can, like Pat says, be rubbery and a bit anemic.
I don't know. I found if you go at least hot, they always come out crispy.
Yeah, I agree. I have to go hot.
I think if you go medium, then you're risking it.
That's the problem area.
Go hot, and you're always getting crispy.
100% agree with you there. Like, when I was going medium on my thighs, I was seeing a lot of anemic thigh. Now, when you go hot, you see a lot of char grill on there, which is the key.
Yeah.
But I still think Five Guys is more consistent than Nando's. Like, if you go into Five Guys to get a burger, you know you're coming out with like a 8 out of 10 burger.
But the issue is, if we're moaning about Nando's not having good sides, I mean,
Mate,
Jesus Christ.
don't disrespect Five Guys sides. They give you more fries than is humanly possible to eat.
But for me, I'm not a massive fan of fries.
What?
So, like, what do I get?
Mate, that
like they're just.
up.
I'm not a massive fan of potato.
Yeah, but that's essentially a complaint that they're not a different restaurant. Like, I mean, like the issue isn't that Five Guys don't have a big enough range of sides. It's that the sides they don't do very well. Whereas Five Guys don't pretend that they're doing like loads of different sides. They're like, we do one side and it's good. And actually, I will also say their milkshakes are pretty good.
Very good.
Oh, milkshakes are banging.
100%, totally agree with that. And also the customization on a Five Guys burger is
Yes,
phenomenal.
exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas you can't customize other
very
things
true.
quite as well. If you go to a McDonald's or whatever, you can't customize it as well, and you certainly can't customize as well at Nando's. So I think Five Guys, for me, is the standout there. It's the winner.
I'm just thinking, have we missed any big hitters? Have we missed any
Burger
big hitters
King's not
at all?
worth talking about. Greg's. Do we want to say Greg's
What?
in there?
Oh, Greg.
Fucking no.
But then there are some...
Mamas is okay.
Do we count stuff like Honest Burger or like Byron and stuff? Like GBK is not great. Like Honest Burger used to be amazing and now is kind of rubbish.
I agree with that. Totally agree with that. Honest Burger, when you first had a taste of a rosemary chip, you're thinking this could be the one for me. But then quickly,
I'm also trying to think.
Is too consistent. Five Guys is obliteratingly consistent.
Yeah, and we also got to think as well. Like, Honest Burger isn't going to be in every town, right? We got to think about how populated they are around the UK. Like in London, they're everywhere. Whereas go to Crawley, good luck you find an Honest Burger. Never happening.
Yeah, I agree. I do think as well. Like obviously. Like, we're not including, like, curry houses and stuff in here because it's not, like, traditionally fast food, is it? So, let's go Five Guys. Then we'll stick Pizza Hut in the mud and we'll wrap the show up there. Pat, is there anything on the podcast this week?
This week on the podcast, Henry Hill and I had a little chat about the Europa League race and kind of what's going on with teams there, which got into, like, what does it mean for Liverpool if they miss out? Oh, well, I think they probably are going to miss out on the Champions League. You know, like, what does the financial future look like for these clubs and who we kind of see maybe being in danger of losing their job, which is obviously a little bit of Mourinho chat. So, yeah, good one.
All right, nice. Zach, anything you want to plug?
Snapchat, come over there. Takes you 3 seconds and then you can watch us even more. You'll love it.
Lovely. Right, thanks very much for watching, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.